Ave Imperator, brothers and sisters, and welcome. Today I'm going to be doing a reaction video to Colm R McGuinness's Warhammer Song, More. More is dedicated to the chaos god of lust, excess, and obsession. The god in question, of course, is Slaanesh. Slaanesh is a complicated god, but Colm R McGuinness really has done his homework here and produced a music video that was going to be a delight to unpack. In particular, there's a spot in the middle that absolutely sends shivers down my spine every time I hear it because it is so perfect. I will include a link in the description to the full song. If you're just looking for the full song, I do not encourage you to watch the video that's coming, honestly. The reason being is that I'm going to be stopping and starting this video almost at random, and it's going to seem sometimes. The reason is because while the information and the setting here is quite good, it does bear rather a lot of explanation because there are deeper meanings being linked here. There's also a lot of details that you can't really encapsulate in a witty verse, honestly. They really do take someone who knows what they're talking about to come and sit down and explain things to you. Also, I want to dedicate this video to the upcoming Total War Warhammer 3 DLC, Tides of Torment. This Tides of Torment DLC contains 4 legendary lords, but 2 of them, most appropriately for this song, are Slaaneshi lords. We're talking, of course, about Deshala and the Mask. That DLC is going to provide me with quite a lot of time of new content, including lots of new lore drops that I'll have to talk about. Without any further ado, friends, let's get straight into it, shall we? Here we go. Colm R McGuinness's Warhammer Song, More.
Honey, you should let me in. Shining lights and pretty scenes. Hear that song beneath your skin.
Oh, okay. So there we go. That slide is terrifying. I love it every time. It really perfectly encapsulates the eeriness, the otherworldliness that Slaanesh embodies maybe more than any of the other chaos gods. Let's go back and take a look at some of the lyrics here. There's a couple of things I want to talk about really quickly. So right here, these lyrics. Honey, you should let me in. Wonderful stuff. Look where he's sitting. He's literally sitting in a circle of candles, which represents a protective circle for a ritual that he's generating, right? This is a very cool sort of niche Warhammer reference that I really enjoy. You know, he's got these feelings trapped inside of him. He can hear the demon knocking on the door saying, let me in, let me in. He's interested, but he's also making sure that he's not going to be overwhelmed by a demonic intrusion. Very cool stuff. Now here, again, this actually comes from Warhammer 3, which is why I'm dedicating the video to Warhammer 3. Hear the song beneath your skin. Slaanesh is often, again, very, very personal like that. It's something more ephemeral than the other chaos gods offer. You know, Khorne offers inchoate rage. Nurgle, pestilence, rot, decay, and rebirth. Tzeentch, change. However, Slaanesh is something more interior. It's something that's right in your soul, right? It's that feeling, whether you're chasing perfection, whether you're chasing some other thing that you want to really drive into. That's what Slaanesh is all about, focusing in on the obsessive ideal of perfection. This demonic face we're looking at here is the face of Enkari, one of Slaanesh's foremost keepers of secrets, a real terror monger. I'd have to dedicate an entire video, honestly, to explain who Enkari is. Suffice to say, they're not someone you want to see in your bedroom at night. Or maybe you do. I don't judge. Let's continue.
Darling, you should let them go. Seed of gold and petty souls. I'll be here, just let me know. You look so good in indigo. Are you afraid of letting go? You come to find they'll say you're perfect as you are, but what's a little more?
Oh, gorgeous, gorgeous. Yeah, that's the whole point. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this a little bit more right here. More. What's a little more, right? What can it hurt you? Can't hurt you, can it? Just indulging a little more vice, a little more excess, a little more work on that thing you really want to perfect. Yeah. More is Slaanesh's entire motif. I love this. This is perfectly done. Really nice stuff. Let's rewind a little bit more and talk about something else. Darling, you should let him go. The him, of course, the one that he should let go is the Emperor. The Emperor is kind of the antithesis of the four main chaos gods in this setting. Warhammer Fantasy is a little bit more complicated because there are a bunch of minor chaos deities. Warhammer 40k, a little bit more straightforward. There are four major gods of chaos, Slaanesh, of course, being one of them. In the Warhammer 40k setting, the one that you're letting go of course, is the God Emperor of Mankind, who stands as a sort of antithetical bulwark to protect humanity against the predations of the other space, known as the warp, where the chaos gods reside. They're constantly trying to come into real space, to conquer more of it, to reap souls. Souls and faith are the things that power the chaos gods, and they always hunger for more, right? So, really cool. Slaanesh, of course, tempting away. Yeah, no, put down that barrier, put down that shield and have a little more. No problem. Next up, what you're looking at here is an actual picture of the realm of chaos. This is where Slaanesh lives. These towers, there's 6 rings of excess for Slaanesh. And this is kind of a sneak peek in. The warp of changes constantly. It's never going to look the same way twice. This is as good a representation of any as what the realm of Slaanesh might look like. The air here that you see is not going to be pink because of dust. Not exactly. The air in Slaanesh's realm is entirely pervaded by a kind of soporific musk. This musk causes a sort of dreamy lassitude in the inhaler. It almost makes them feel drunk and free from their body. It encourages them to let go and to indulge. Demons of Slaanesh also often will have this kind of musky scent that renders their victims entirely unable to resist them because they're just sent in this kind of fugue state where they're just blissing out essentially all the time. This is really cool. So this color scheme indicates, again, that scent that's everywhere. Great stuff. This last line. They'll say you're perfect as you are. This is Slaanesh saying, no. Go ahead. Again. Have a little more. Go deeper. It's fine. They're wrong. You're not perfect. Yet. You could be, though, if you just let me in. All right. Back to the song. Let's do it.
Perfect as you are, but what's a little more? Just a little more. Just a little more. Maybe you should hear me out. Let them sow their seeds of doubt. But don't you wait for them to sprout.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Let's go back and do. There's a couple more things I want to talk about here real quick. Okay, again, in Warhammer 3, this wanderer possesses a special tome that allows him to see fate, the threads of fate. In another video, I'm going to talk about Tzeentch and the idea of fate in Warhammer. It's very complicated. It's not a straight line. It's not linear. It's a web. It is an infinitely spreading and infinitely interconnected web. This guy's the wanderer, and as I said, he has this relic. And now in the background here, you can see a bunch of demons of Slaanesh. These things are essentially, again, a demon in Warhammer 40k or Warhammer Fantasy is the condensed essence of a vice, basically. So, I mean, like one of these might be devoted to an excess of drink, another an excess of drug, another an excess of kind of musical navel gazing, essentially, right? And what they want to do is they each want to express themselves as fully as possible. And they will try to snare mortals in a way that their souls and their torment and their insecurities can be drawn out and feasted upon. Demons of Slaanesh will often really, really enjoy mortal torment. Anything that creates an excess of feeling one way or the other feeds a Slaaneshi demon. In that way, I would honestly say really that they're one of the most terrifying. A demon of Khorne doesn't want to torture you. It wants to murder you and butcher you. That's bad, obviously. A demon of Slaanesh doesn't want to do that. A demon of Slaanesh wants to spend as much time teasing out every last drop of suffering, of feeling that can be taken from your soul before its light is finally extinguished and there's no more of you left. So that means you could spend a literal infinity being tormented by one of these demonettes in the background. Horrifying stuff. As I mentioned before, this is Enkari, one of the most important of Slaneshi's demons, and it's holding an image of Ursun. Ursun is the bear god of the Kislevites, which are a sort of a blend of Ukrainian, Eastern European tropes and ideas that really make something very pleasant as a faction to play in Warhammer 3. I highly recommend them. They've got a very unique style and a very, very awesome aesthetic. So in this game, Ursun is missing. I won't spoil anything for you because the actual story is very cool. But Ursun is missing and all the factions are chasing him because nothing has as much power as the blood of a god. So all of these players are suddenly searching for Ursun, whether it is to free him or feast on him. I think you can guess which thing Enkari is most interested in doing. Look at that tongue. Oh boy. All right, let's keep going. Also, too, let them sow their seeds of doubt, but don't you wait for them to sprout. So this means basically, it's okay. You can listen, to the priests, to your elders, to your superiors. You can let them talk as much as they want, but never trust. No. Just trust in me. Trust in your feelings would be even better. Let that seed of excess sprout. Let it grow, but not the seeds of doubt. Great stuff. Awesome line. All right, let's dive back in.
Hollow king in prison minds. You'd be safe if you were mine. I just wanna see you shine. Can you hear the music now? Stay with me, just settle down. I think that you're just perfect as you are. What's a little more? Just a little more.
Awesome. Slaanesh is a god that defies one gender, one expression of self, one expression of individuality. Slaanesh, actually, of all the gods, is probably the most widely embracing. Slaanesh doesn't care your size, your height, anything about you. Slaanesh embraces everything. And Slaanesh, again, is really pan-gender, right? Slaanesh can be masculine, feminine, and anything in between, 100%. So this choice to add suddenly that female backing voice, but also to keep the voice unseen is a brilliant, brilliant choice. The reason being, when they do that, it adds a sort of, again, an ethereal quality, a lilting feel to the music, whereas there's this strong masculine voice, but underneath it is also this feminine voice blending together to make a more pleasing whole. Amazing detail here. Really, really good choice. And it serves the song beautifully as well. I love this. Okay, coming back to some more lyrics here. A hollow king, imprisoned minds, right? This basically means the emperor is the hollow king, and he has no soul. He doesn't feel anything. He doesn't have that excess, those openings in his armor, right? He's just almost like an uncaring, frozen statue seated on the golden throne, commanding his empire without really caring about it. Imprisoned minds. This refers to the imperial citizenry, who are dogmatic to a fault, who never think freely, who never give themselves over to the excess that Slaanesh thinks is right and proper. You'd be safe if you were mine. Basically what this means is Slaanesh is pitching it as if you joined my camp, if you gave your worship and your faith to me, your soul would be safe. This is obviously a hideous lie, right? That's crazy. But it's one of those things, the demon wants to give that sense of acceptance, right? I mentioned before again that Slaanesh really is all-encompassing and doesn't care what you are at all. The only thing Slaanesh cares about is that you're pursuing something to an obsessive degree. That's the only qualifier that Slaanesh demands for their worship. However, I just want to see you shine. Now that part is actually 100% true. one of the truest expressions of Slaneshi worship you can do is going as deeply and far into your obsession as you possibly can. You know, in the case of Colm R McGuinness, if he were to spend every waking moment singing, feeling, playing music, that would please Slanesh. That would be enough. Now, mind you, Slanesh would expect him to do that until he wasted away to nothing more than skin and bone, a few scraps of flesh flaking off a skull ill-covered by it, that kind of thing. But no, that part is true. I just want to see you shine. That's all. Because the light of your soul consuming itself is an act of worship. What an insidious God. Sure, burn yourself up in the crucible of your passion. I love it. Wonderful. Go ahead. Feed me. Delightful. Really great stuff. Warhammer is one of the creepiest settings out there. 40K is grimdark. Right? Grimdark means that it is bleak and hopeless. But it's got these little touches where there's just threads of hope. Little threads of hope for you to grab onto and follow. And you've got things like this, again, which is like, here's a great big rope of hope and is attached to nothing. So fall into the pit and die. I absolutely love it. Such a great setting, such great works. Wonderful stuff. All right, let's get back into the song. Let's start from here, actually. This is a good spot.
Just wanna see you shine. Can you hear the music now? Stay with me, just settle down. You know I think that you're just perfect as you are. What's a little more? Just a little more. Just a little more.
Let's stop here for a second. I don't have too much more to add about that last passage. Again, I really love the blending of the male and the female, the masculine and the feminine. I think that's fantastic. This character, this is Be'lakor. Be'lakor, in the Warhammer Fantasy setting, which is where this picture is taken from, Be'lakor is the first of the demon princes. Most demons, again, form in the warp, that other sea, that extra dimension outside of our real space. Be'lakor is the first mortal soul. He was once one of us. We don't know what species he was originally exactly. We're not sure. In the Warhammer 40K setting is entirely obscured. In the Warhammer Fantasy setting, we know that he was an elf. That's the only thing we really for sure know about him. But he was an elf that saw the oncoming waves of chaos. If you're curious about that, let me know in the comments, and I'll explain what I mean by an oncoming wave of chaos. The world of Warhammer Fantasy was suffering from an invasion the likes of which was unknown prior to that. These warp gates that the creator gods of the setting had been using collapsed, leaving a gaping hole burned straight through reality into the warp, which allowed demons to enter in a never-ending tide of horror and depravity. Of course, the mortal souls trying to defend against this, trying to be a bulwark against this incursion that never stopped. They just kept coming and eating and consuming everything in front of them that they ever cared about. How do you maintain hope in that setting? Well, the answer, at least for Be'lakor, was you don't. You say, actually, can I join your team? Your team looks really awesome and cool. What do you think? So he was the first demon prince. And again, if you are interested in having a proper explanation of the Warhammer Fantasy lore, put a link in the comments. I would love to talk about the creation saga of Warhammer Fantasy with you. I think that'd be a lot of fun and a really great video topic. So if you're willing to indulge me, let me know in the comments. So Be'lakor is a great choice here because Be'lakor is not devoted to just one of the Chaos gods. He worships something called Chaos Undivided. This means he gives equal weight and worship to each one of the Chaos gods. Now, Be'lakor's situation has become since rather more nuanced. And again, that's an explanation for another video, but he embraces Khorne's rage, Nurgle's despair, Tzeentch's obsession with change, and Slanesh's devotion to excess and perfection. So he is an interesting character. I'm kind of curious why they chose him particularly for this video. Maybe they just thought he looked cool. I wonder if they knew the actual lore of Be'lakor. Be'lakor also, by the way, is an awesome Australian melodic death metal band that I highly encourage you to check out. I might link them in the description too. Anyway, back to the video, folks. Tone change. Interesting.
You know there's so much more to you. They don't know you like I do. They'd only try to keep you down. I know you could be so much more. Just a little more. You could be so much more.
Okay, let's go back a little bit. So interesting tone change first as well, right? A darker tone, a little heavier, a little slower to kind of build tension. This is a common musical technique that a lot of successful musicians use, obviously. I mean, again, anything that creates a sudden change, you know, you've got that swaying, blending, lilting tone, and then suddenly it's dark and it's colder feeling. That immediately causes the listener to focus in and pay attention to what's being said. Great stuff. There's so much more to you. In this case, again, this is another truth. The most effective chaos worshippers and chaos proselytizers will often do that. They'll blend lies and truth. There's so much more to you. Slaanesh literally knows that. Slaanesh knows that locked inside each soul is that potential for more excess, more obsession, right? So this is great. And then we come to the next line. They'd only try to keep you down. And maybe this is why they decided to include Be'lakor. Because Be'lakor, again, felt restricted. He felt that it wasn't fair that his fate was to hold a spear, stand in a line with a bunch of other elves, and die. That's not right. There's more to me. I'm an individual. I'm special. I deserve a different fate. That was the way the Chaos Gods got into Be'lakor. That's how they got him to turn his back on his species and his world and join them. A demon prince is really scary for a lot of reasons because they've got a foot in both worlds, right? They're not solely bound to the warp in the way that demons are. Interpreted a little bit differently in 40K and fantasy settings, the meaning of demon is a little bit different between each. There's some variance and some nuances to talk about. I'm not going to get super hung up on them right here unless you guys, again, want a video about them, which you should totally let me know in the comments. So they'd only try to keep you down. They'd only try to deny you your proper place, your proper fate. Awesome stuff. Really well written. All right, let's get back into it.
Just a little more. You could be so much more. Just a little more.
Beautiful. Great outro. Really great outro. Love that. We fade to black with the artist sitting in his circle of light, pondering devotion to the new god. Great stuff. Absolutely great stuff. All right. Let's go back and give you my concluding remarks here. Okay, so final notes about this song. Once again, supremely well worshipped. That was awkward. Why did I say that? Could it be Slaanesh? Supremely well written is the highest praise I can give this song, honestly. This is wonderfully researched. And so the choice of background imagery, again, is really, really solid. I'm really glad they decided to use Warhammer Fantasy. I feel like Warhammer Fantasy, that is now the old world and that became Age of Sigmar, is underserved in the fan base's knowledge, honestly. 40K is the more dominant of the two settings by far, and that's a little bit unfortunate because fantasy, particularly with Warhammer 3, literally one of the greatest games of the last at least 30 years. It's sad that there's not more general knowledge about them. So I'm glad that they chose to use these videos of Slaanesh. And again, it's because Warhammer 3 does have such a strong Slaaneshi representation. Part of that is because I think with Slaanesh's devotion to excesses of the flesh, it makes it harder to put them in most video games for obvious ratings reasons. You know, at the end of the day, these are all companies. They do want to sell as many things as they can. And it's a little harder to market a demon devoted to sexual excess, for example, which is unfortunate because, again, like Slaanesh is a fascinating chaos god. You know, it's not just all about, you know, the sex and the drugs. It's also about the rock and roll, which is really, really cool and something that would bear more doing. A cool unit that you could check out, for example, Warhammer 40K, devoted entirely to Slaanesh, are Noise Marines. These are literal Chaos Space Marines devoted entirely to sound. That was their obsession. That was their flaw. They just fell in love with making the most chaotic, dissonant sounds they could. And they literally live their lives in pursuit of the perfect tone. And if you have ever played music, if you've ever cared about sound, you know what the perfect tone is. And you know exactly how elusive it is. I really like that. There's so many, again, one of the things that's really great is Warhammer and Games Workshop are devoted to history. They're devoted to kind of high concept ideas. Sometimes the execution is clumsy. That's natural. It's fine. But they really are devoted to high concepts. And again, the Chaos Noise Marines, that idea of perfect tone, I know exactly what that is. You know, that would be my in, honestly. If Slaanesh was looking to convert me, that would be the thing to go for. Sound. 100%. I get it. Also, I'd like to tell you that we're going to have on Fridays regularly, we're going to have our Warhammer 40K tabletop games. This Friday will be a match between Brother Fergu playing his Dark Angels and Brother Greybeard playing his Tau. It's going to be a real vicious grudge match. The last match ended somewhat acrimoniously, I would say, might be a tactical way to put that. Also, Sundays are going to be Warhammer 3. This Sunday we'll be reuniting the Realm of Cathay. We have 30 turns to do that. It's part of a concept I like to call the first 30s. Quite often with Warhammer 3, the best turns are the first 30 to 50 turns. So we spend about 3 hours a session going through and playing lots of different concepts and game ideas, restricted entirely to 30 turns, which gives a little bit of urgency and fun to the setting as well. The last one we did was Chasing Vampiric Blood Kisses, which is a stream you probably should go back and watch if that sounds interesting at all to you, because it was great. And I did tons of lore exposition during it too. I always try to do my streams anyway. Also, we're going to have, coming out this week, a video dedicated to the Valhallan Ice Warriors. This was done by special request of Brother Greybeard, he of the Tau and Guard. I'm really looking forward to relating that video to you. The Valhallan Ice Warriors are a fascinating Imperial Guard regiment with a long and storied history, and they deserve to have their story told once more. I'm going to take my shot at it. Friends, as always, thank you so much for joining the channel. The like, the share, the comment, the hype, most importantly, are the dark currencies of this age in which we find ourselves. So if you would donate one of those to me, I would be very, very grateful. Thank you, as always, for coming and spending your time with me. You honor me with your presence. Friends, I'll see you again in the next video. Ave Imperator.